Welcome back to Jaeger Racing. Today we're going to be putting on some R1 Concepts brakes onto our Mustang.
Like that's as hard as I can push them.
That's with the floor?
Yeah.
Holy crap.
Alright, so one of the things that we found real fast with the Mustang was the braking just wasn't quite up to what we really wanted it to be. Something definitely holding us back from getting the most out of our lap times at the track. With that said, I also plan to drive this car on the street regularly, so I don't want something overly harsh that's going to make this car sound like a race car everywhere I drive. So I don't want to quite go as far as a full tilt, gnarly race pad. So I opted to go with an R1 Concepts. These are their street / track / autocross pads. I've actually used them with great success on the Miata. So since all the success I had with it on the Miata, I decided why not try it out on the Mustang. So I'm going to put a set of the slotted R1 Concepts on the front and rear of the Mustang. Obviously we have a 6-piston in the front, which are going to be the bigger pads here, and then just the standard in the rear, which always just irks me a little bit about the Mustang. They didn't make it a really clean, fancy actual caliper in the rear, so it's just a really ugly stock-looking brake in the rear of the GT Mustangs. I would love to get my hands on a set of the GT 350 rears, but then I heard you have to do a bunch of other changing. So far, I think the actual components in the car are up to the task. Just needs some of these other little pieces to make the entire puzzle come together. So I'm really excited to put these on the car and see how it turns out. Alright, let's get to installing and then we'll get to the track. Alright, so we're going to do the fronts first. Quick and easy. First thing you gotta do is take the caliper off. Once you take the caliper off, it's going to release the rotor, so you can pull the rotor off, put the new one on. Then we just have to change pads. And there's 2 bolts in the back that you take off. They're 15s. Quick and easy. This is actually much lighter than it appears, which is awesome. And then next thing we gotta do is take this big heavy chunk off. Be careful, because you want to make sure the rotor itself doesn't put stress on the brake line. Or the caliper, excuse me. So, now you can take that chunker off. And we can replace it with this guy. They have their part numbers engraved on the top here. And pretty easy. Slide that on there. Now we just replace the caliper. One thing we're probably going to have to do is press the pistons back in. And we'll also take out the pads and go from there. So now we just got to pound out the pins. I luckily have this nice fancy rod that fits perfectly in the hole. Allows me to get the pin out, push it in. Now you got your pin. Once you get the first one, the second one slides out. Take note of the orientation of this. I also like to clean the rods off. Once I go to put them back in, they get pretty dirty with brake. There's also a 13mm that you have to take off to be able to slide out another thing. Sometimes this piece right here will get kind of stuck. Best way to do, put nut in, or the bolt in a little bit, tap it with a hammer on the back side. That'll pop it right out. Once you do that, now you can just push your pads out. Kind of. and you got your old pads out. Now you might notice these pads still have a lot of life on them. Well, they do, but they are definitely not the greatest of pads for track use, which is why we want to go to the R1 Concepts pads. All right, now we just got to install those. Be good to go. All right, so like I said, I like to clean off these pins. Helps them slide into place and slide out of place after we're all done and want to pull things back apart. So I like to clean everything off, get her nice and clean. And we push this pin in there, take our thing with these little wings upwards, that guy in there, push your second one in, and just like that we have new rotors and new brake pads suitable for the track and suitable for a little bit of beating. Eventually I also plan on maybe doing some extended wheel studs, but not today. Alright, now we just gotta move to the back. Alright, so just like on the front, same tactic. We have to take off the caliper and the caliper bracket, and then we'll be able to take off the rotor. Once we take off all that, we'll swap rotors, and then we'll swap the rear brake pads. Alright, so now we're gonna put on the R1 Concepts rear rotor. After getting the other one off, you know, give a little spray, a little wipe, clean all the rust and goodness off. Then we'll throw on the rotor, and then we just bolt everything back up, and then I'm gonna throw on the set of pads, and we'll be in money. All right, make sure, like everything else, clean everything. You've already gone through the effort of taking all this apart. Just clean it. Now, we're gonna put our R1 Concepts brake pads into the holders here. Slip in like they were meant to be there. Clean off this guy. And then now, we'll just go through and push the piston back, and then we'll install.